What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. No African is a foreigner in Africa, no matter what country that African finds himself in. No African is a foreigner in Africa. And I'm an African born in America. When I go to Africa, I'm going home. I'm not going to a strange land. I'm not going to the white man's land. I'm not going to the white man's colony. I'm not going to the Asian man's land. I'm going home to the black man's land. Those lines that you see that currently uneducated or unaware, unwoke Africans in South Africa and various other parts of Africa, those lines created by their oppressors, by the white man, by the European, are currently being fought over by Africans that don't understand that those lines don't really exist. I understand that there are economic problems in South Africa, and it doesn't help when you have more load on the terrible load that they already have. But understand that mechanism was created by that white man that owns your country. That mechanism of stress that you deal with is directly controlled by that white man in your country, and that white man in that other African country, and that white man in Europe, and that white man in America. The African priorities is totally messed up. You see, yeah, you can argue in talking about national lines and sovereignty. What about the African sovereignty to be on its own home? If you really cared about African sovereignty, you would not fight your other Africans over white lines. I know a little something about, Africans fighting over white lines. See, in America, Africans fight over white lines all the time. We call them gangs. Street gangs fighting over streets they don't own. Fighting over colors they don't own. Killing each other while allowing the white man to kill them. You see, none of these gangs in America got no smoke for the white man. They let the white man do whatever. They only kill each other because that's low-hanging fruit, because they're cowards, they're weaklings, they're the weak-link niggas of the African-American community. All gang members are. And that's the same thing that goes on in Africa. Fighting over lines that don't belong to you. Those are white lines. White lines you still continue to gather up on the battlefield and fight your brothers and sisters for, but it doesn't benefit you. Those white lines have never benefited you. Those white lines were mechanism for white people to get your resources and take them out of your country. So yeah, you got some South Africans that's pissed off, right? I understand. And I understand that there are other Africans that can be assholes towards other Africans. I'm not saying that we all kumbaya, we all, get along. We got problems. We do messed up stuff to each other, right? But in order to fix our collective problems, the one thing we can do is recognize that Africa is home for the African. You see, you have accepted that Africa is home for the Indian. You ain't got no problem with those Indians who disrespect you on a daily basis, who set up shop in your communities on a daily basis, create enclaves where you're not allowed to go. You don't got no problem. You allow them to establish themselves within your countries. You don't protest. You don't march. You don't make videos. You don't do nothing. You let those Asians come in your country and set up shop and buy land and take opportunities away from your people. You don't protest. You don't get mad. You just accept it because it's something you accepted. A lot of Africans have accepted their substitute. They've accepted being served to be an underclass of other people from other lands that value Africa more than they value Africa. You clearly, African continental, there are a lot of continental Africans that do not value the land that they so-called love. Because if you truly value the land that you so-called love, you wouldn't let these foreigners come and disrespect and take your shit. If you South Africans really value the land that you're from, you be pointing your anger at those white people. You be pointing your anger at those white people that got the nerve to come to your homeland and make white-only communities. But your anger is geared towards a few Nigerians and Zimbabweans and a few other Africans that shut up little small shops that serve your community, by the way, and provide you with stuff that you would have to go to the white people's side to go get. You see, no African can tell me I'm not African. It's not even possible for an ignorant European African-minded Negro to tell me I'm not African enough because I'm American. It wouldn't even register in my brain because I know who I am. When you know who you are, none of that shit can penetrate you. And that's the way we got to get. We got to get to the point to where we know who we are. All black people globally literally have the power to flip the switch at any moment. White people know that. It's a mindset. The war is here. in the mind. And white people still control South Africans' minds. I understand that because your proximity to whiteness means that you're more poisoned than the rest of the Africans. Because our African Americans we got FBA, they're poisoned African Americans. They don't understand these white lines they fight for, these nationalities given to them by the oppressor who they fight for and fight to maintain the institutions and systems that they've gotten comfortable with. You see, a lot of people are comfortable in their segregation. A lot of people are comfortable within the bosom of the white man and his oppression. Because a lot of y'all are not about that life, and you're not willing to fight and make yourself uncomfortable to get what really belongs to you. You see, we right there, right? We right there where we need to be. But the only thing is, it's going to take us to get uncomfortable to get to where we want to go. We standing right there. We can see the goal. But the problem is we, right, as a collective, are not collectively taking the necessary step and making ourselves uncomfortable and taking the risk of being hurt, the risk of failing, the risk of suffering injury from war. You don't want to take that risk. You rather sit there and wait for somebody to do it for you. You rather wait for your white Jesus to come and do it for you. You waiting for some black revolutionary to come and do all the work for you, and then you can sit there and be happy about your freedom. That's what you're waiting for. Because you don't want to get involved, but you want the results. Therein lies the problem. All of us got to get active. All of us got to be willing to take hits. All of us got to be willing to die so that our children can live. And once we get to that place and we know who we are and we stop recognizing these white lines that don't exist. Somebody go ahead and show me a line in Africa that a white person drew, right, that God said that was okay to do. What deity, what omnipotent creature said white people have the ultimate authority to tell you what your name is, what language you speak, where your borders are, who you should be mad at? You give the white people way too much credit. The power that they have is an illusion. And you perpetuate the illusion by being intellectually lazy, socially lazy, culturally lazy, academically lazy. In the age of information, anybody with a cell phone can find out the truth. But you have to have the willingness to go find that truth and reflect on yourself and find out, damn, is the way I'm thinking wrong? If you can't criticize yourself and see that maybe the way you're moving is wrong, then you're an unfixable, broken product that needs to be thrown away. Because we need somebody that's going to work. We need people that knows how to move forward. And there's a plethora of black people. Most black people want to move forward. But there's always a few that stand in the gap for white supremacy. There's always a few that want to stay in the matrix so they can eat that tasty steak, even though that steak ain't real. Some of y'all understand that reference, right? So yeah, I see what South Africa doing, and I see the Pan-Africans in South Africa fighting back against us, even though the media is not showing you very often. I'm letting you know. Have the media is saying you don't exist. It takes people like myself to go find it. It takes African Americans with wherewithal to find it and disseminate it from this side, and other Africans to disseminate it from their side, right? But we see you. I'm letting you know, we see you out there fighting against the xenophobia and hate within your communities orchestrated by white supremacy, the same way I'm fighting against the xenophobic and hateful agents of white supremacy, which is FBA and ADOS. So yeah, Africa is home for the African. Whether you want to move to Africa or not, that's your home. Whether you want a vacation there or you don't want a vacation, that's your home. You have an option. And no African should question any other African about whether they should be in Africa or not. No African can question another African about their Africanist. No one's more African than nobody else. The continental Africans are not more African than the Jamaican. There's no continental African more African than the African American. There's no continental African more African than the Afro-Latino. We're all African. African is born in us. We are African. We're the hardware. Africa is a thing that is created biologically. It's the melanin. It's the power. It's us. The landmass that belongs to us is land from the earth, giving to us by God. That's the real Garden of Eden, and it belongs to us. And if you want it back, then we have to take it. But before we can do that, we have to recognize who our allies are. Our allies are other Africans, even if we have other issues, which we have to deal with. Because like I said, we're not perfect. We got problems. But one thing I know for sure is if you are an African, Africa is home for you, whether you want to believe it or not. Facts are facts. Your opinions don't matter when facts and truth are involved. Anyway, you guys tell me what you think in the comment section. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn some, teach them. I'm out.
No such thing as an African immigrant in Africa. Africa is for Africans, those at home and those abroad. Africa is home to all Africans, those at home and those abroad. I am a Kenyan. When I step in South Africa, South Africa is my home. When I step in Nigeria, Nigeria is my home. When I step in DRC, in Gambia, in Lesotho, those are my homes because they're in Africa, and Africa is my home. Those at home and those abroad. Africa is home to Africans, those at home and those abroad, whether you like it or not. I am not talking to the South Africans that are not Afrophobic. I'm talking to the South Africans that are Afrophobic in this video. Let's say by tomorrow you chase away all so-called African immigrants. Chase them away to go back to Nigeria, Ghana, chase them away to go back to Zimbabwe, to Zambia, to Malawi, to wherever they came from in Africa. Let me say this. The South African economy will still remain the same. The unemployment rate will still remain the same. Because until you understand that the South African economy is apartheid by nature, that has never been decolonized, until the South African economy is decolonized from the apartheid nature of running the South African economy will forever serve the white people and the few black elites only. Let me repeat that again. Until you decolonize the South African economy, the South African economy will continue to serve the few black elites in South Africa, and will continue to serve the white people in South Africa. And it will continue to not serve, it will continue to not put the wealth in the hands of the common black South African. Until you understand that, you will never, ever, 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 ever solve the unemployment rate. You will never, ever, ever, ever fix the South African economy. Going for some few people who own some spaza shops and thinking that will do anything. Please do not be misled by people who may have or most likely have been paid by the government and by white people to redirect you away from them who are the source of the problem, the government and white supremacy in South Africa.
Don't quit for it, nigga. You about to be where you need to be. You talking about some, maybe I should throw in the towel. No, for a nigga. Don't ever quit. I keep going.
Free Sudan, boycott diamonds and gold. Free Sudan, boycott diamonds and gold. We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan.
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.